Oh, well, hello there. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Morning Coffee. Switching things up this morning. Decided to go with an iced coffee today instead of my usual hot coffee. No reason, no rhyme. That's just what we're doing today. So today's topic of conversation. Good morning. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Today's topic of conversation, we're going to be touching on one of the things that we were addressing in Better University this week. It was our challenge this week, and we talked about some engagement on Tuesday. Thursday, we offered up some tips and tricks regarding the subject. I'm talking about, of course, about unplugging. So we live in an extraordinarily connected world, connected to everything. Um, I mean, I'm sure some of you right now are actually probably watching me right now on a little handheld device such as this. And some of you may not be, but the fact of the matter remains that we are so consistently plugged into everything. We can access anything, we can access everything. We have the ability to be distracted. We have the ability to be connected to everything that's going on around us. So, by talking about unplugging, especially in our modern world, there's this certain modicum of irony that's absolutely not lost when you when you consider how okay when you consider that your fur children don't respect the fact that you have a show that you're trying to run and they decide that now is the perfect time to mess with each other. No, but I digress. There's a certain amount of irony, and that it's absolutely not lost on me when we talk about unplugging in a world that is so connected. From my phone, for example, I can open this up. I can access the World Wide Web. I can get all of my emails. I have 5 or 6 different messaging applications that allow me to speak with indirectly to many different people. I can check all of my banking information. I can listen to music. I can go on to several different social media outlets where there are memes and pictures and ways to keep myself distracted. I can see the time anywhere in the world. I can set an alarm for absolutely anything. I have a calendar. I have a phone. I have a web phone. Oh my God, that's right. This is a phone. I can make telephone calls with this. I can text with this. I can check the weather anywhere in the world. Let's not forget that there's also hundreds of games that I can play on this little tiny device through something called the App Store. So these amazing little devices allow us to do everything and anything. No longer do we have to write letters to each other. No longer do we have to even turn on the television. Really, you can watch TV right on your phone. So when we talk about unplugging or disconnecting, there is again that irony because we are so connected. We live in this world where everything revolves around the ability to, within an instant, have what we want, say what we want, find what we want. So, where this leaves us is that a lot of times we let that connectivity dominate our headspace, our our connection to people, to the world. For example, how many of you, when you first wake up, the first thing you do is you start scrolling through your social media, or you kind of getting caught up on what I missed while I was asleep? I mean, realistically, the answer is you didn't miss jack squat while you were asleep. At least you didn't miss anything within your immediate world. Um, but yet, we still do that. I mean, I myself, I find that every morning I'm digesting news and media from my phone. It's one of the first things I do when I wake up. I just start scrolling through, and that can almost really set the tone for your entire day. Imagine if you wake up and suddenly you are bombarded with just these horrific news stories about things that are going on, not just in your own backyard, but internationally, remote places of the world. Well, now you're going to be thinking about that all day. It's going to distract you from focusing on lots of other things. Now, let's say that is your norm, your go-to. Every single morning, you start setting the tone for the day. Hey, Dottie, I'm doing great today. Thank you so much for asking. It's really nice of you to join us this morning. Um, yeah, no, I am doing great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate when you guys tune in and you talk to me. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys watching and or talking, realistically, I'm just sitting here barking in the dark. I mean, I don't need an audience for that, although it is kind of nice. It validates what you do, and then you don't feel like a crazy person just talking to themselves on the subway. I am pretty rambly today, though. I definitely do want to apologize for that if it seems like there's not a lot of direction in what I'm doing or where I'm going. Actually, I got to be honest with you guys. I almost didn't do the show today. I haven't been sleeping very well the last few nights, and I woke up this morning just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the mental clarity. So right now it's really difficult to kind of grasp at these concrete ideas without feeling like I'm repeating myself over and over and over. So I do want to apologize for that, but hopefully there's going to be a couple little nuggets of gold or wisdom spattered throughout this nonsense that I'm spewing. But let's get back to our topic at hand. As much as I love wasting time, I hate wasting time. So with unplugging, the irony, of course, is that we are all plugged into everything all the time, constantly. We're digesting everything early in the morning. That's where we were. All right, got the train back on track. So if we're constantly, digesting all this first thing when we wake up and setting the tone for our day, we're not even giving ourselves a fighting chance, right? You're not giving yourself a chance to set your own atmosphere, your own tone. So as a challenge, really, I challenge you guys to do this. I challenge myself to do this. The first 30 minutes to an hour after you wake up, don't open up your phone. Don't start scrolling through social media. Yeah, check to see if you got any important, work emails, if you're one of those people that has to be monitoring stuff like that constantly, or, check to see if there's any important phone calls that you may have missed while you were in do not disturb mode. But other than that, stay off Facebook, stay off the Instagram and all the other things. Just spend the first hour absorbing the day. And if you're somebody who's lucky enough to have a significant other who wakes up at the same time you do, spend that first bit of the morning connecting with them and, getting each other psyched up and pumped up and ready for the day. That's my challenge to you. See if you can do that for even just a day. If you can do that for a day, see if you can do it for a week. If you can do it for a week, see how long you can do something like that for. Now, of course, I'm not telling you what to do with your life or how to dictate things. I'm just challenging you to do it. See if you find benefit in it. See if it does something for you. See if it sparkles. I don't know what was it. See if it brings you joy. There we go. That's what we were going for. Does it bring you joy? Of course, if it doesn't work for you, if it doesn't really do anything good for you, move on. But you may discover something about yourself. You may find that it does do something good for you. Speaking of unplugging and significant others and getting involved in their lives in the morning and seeing what's going on, think of it as an opportunity or a time to share your dreams of the night before. Think of it as an opportunity to um, share your to-do list for the day, or even formulate what am I doing today. Maybe you can be bouncing that off of them. But where I wanted to jump from that point is to really discuss the human connection and the fact that we sometimes tend to lose that with how connected we get to these little devices. Have you ever been having a conversation with somebody? I say having a conversation, talking with somebody, and about halfway through your thought or what you're saying, you see them do this, and all of a sudden you're like, are we connected right now? Are you hearing me? Is this an actual conversation that we're having? Now, if that's ever happened to you, I ask you, have you ever done that to someone? Have you ever been in a conversation or somebody's been trying to ask you something or somebody's been trying to talk to you and about halfway through what they're saying, you pick up your phone and you check something, a text message, a Facebook notification, something like that? Have you ever done that? Yeah, I know I've definitely done that, and I try to call myself out every time I see that because you may not be registering it, but that's almost like putting a nail in the coffin of your connection to another human being. It's what's the word I want to use here? It's disheartening. It's very disheartening. It's probably not your intent. It's probably not, done out of malice, but when somebody does that to me, there's just this sinking pit feeling in my heart and my stomach that, oh, what I have to say right now has no value to you, or at least it has less value than that little computer in your hand. Now, another fun little thought experiment. Have you ever been out to dinner? Obviously, none of us have gone out to dinner in quite a few months now. But do you remember back in the before time, when you'd go out to dinner, did you ever look around the room and look at how many couples or families were sitting down to a meal together? Not a soul talking to each other, just this. Every single one of them. I remember when I first started noticing that, and I thought it was funny at first. It was a rarity. You didn't see it all the time, but you saw it, and you're like, oh wow, look at that. You see this couple who are on their phones, and you're like, oh wow, they took the time to get all dressed out and come out to spend time with each other, and look at that, they're not even actually spending time with each other. They're so engrossed in their phones. Or you see the family that's sitting down, and you're like, wow, I wonder how many times they get to actually go out as a family and enjoy each other's company, but they're also isolated in their own little worlds, even though they're sitting right next to each other. And that kind of brings us into a very another damning point about the whole thing with being unplugged and being connected. You can start to feel very isolated and alone, surrounded by the thoughts and the fakeness, quite literally, that is social media. I mean, there aren't many people out there that are literally putting their life unfiltered up on the World Wide Web for you to see. So most of the things that you're scrolling through, like for instance, if you're a mother who's struggling to, keep everything together with 3 screaming children and, you just don't have the time to take them out to do these awesome things, but then you see this Instagram mom who seems to have all her stuff together and they've got these cute matching outfits with their kids and they're doing these activities. Recognize that that's not real life. That's all staged. I actually read a very, I want to say interesting, but I also want to say depressing story about an observation that somebody made while they were at a pool. There was this woman who, Instagram influencer. She brought her daughter out to the pool. She laid out a big old towel. She got all these little toys out, and they had these matching swimsuit outfits. And they started snapping pictures. And after about 10 minutes of staging these pictures and everything, you saw the mother sit down and then start doing all of her social media posts. All the while the little girl was splashing around in the pool saying, Mom, come play with me, come play with me. And then after about 10 more minutes, the mom scooped up the daughter, all the toys, the blanket, and went back inside. Now, to that person who's looking at that, to that person who sees that and thinks, wow, she's got everything on point, she's got it all together, I guarantee you, that child who didn't get to play with her mom, but you saw those perfect Instagram photos of this idyllic life that they have, she's going to remember that more than the selfie. And the child you have at home is going to remember more of the time that you spent with them there as opposed to the time you spent staging them for these pictures. So, what I want to say with all that is just remember that the things that you see on social media, the things that you see out there, they're not real. They're designed to entertain. It has always been about the entertainment. It has always been about creating this image, this artwork. And you have to recognize that while art imitates life, it is not life. It's never how everything is. It's never how everything's going to be. So if you find yourself getting upset about wishing you could do these things or be these things or, provide these things, they don't. They don't. Now, there's the rare exception, but most of those people probably aren't putting themselves out there as much. Um, so the other thing to consider is let's take that same example and let's talk about my industry. Let's talk about the fitness industry. You see all these Adonises and these Nikes, and you're saying to yourself, "Wow, man, they work so hard and they look like that. I want to do that. I want to be that." Well, see, they have some tools you don't. Chances are their life, their job, everything about what they do revolves around those photo shoots that they take. Now, that being said, they normally only have that physique for a couple weeks out of the year because it's not maintainable. It absolutely is not. Again, not real. Not real life. This is not something you can do on a day-to-day basis and actually be a healthy, functioning human being. That's the other thing too. Is a lot of times to look statuesque, you are generally not as healthy as somebody who does not necessarily look statuesque. So don't confuse somebody cut from stone with somebody who's healthy. Now, that being said, there is a healthy balance that you can't find in there. But anyways, where I was originally going with that point. So when you see those fitness models, those figures who are touting those 9-pack abs and the negative 5% body fat, recognize that that also is not real life. They have Photoshop. They have a team behind them prepping them for this photo shoot. And again, I can guarantee you, without a doubt, they don't look like that year round. They don't. Um, okay, here we go. So circling back to the whole connectivity, plugging in, unplugging, all that fun stuff. What I want you to take away from today the most is I want you to objectively look at how much time you spend on your devices and how much time you spend on your devices while you're in the company of other human beings. I think that's where a lot gets lost in translation these days, is we use them as an escape when we used to form human connections and camaraderies to help us deal with all the bull crap going on in the world. And now we just bury ourselves in these little bubbles of technology. So what I want to challenge you to do is, again, objectively look at how much time you spend on your device. And not just how much time, but when you spend that time on your device. So let's say after the end of a long work day, when you're at home, when you're with your significant other, or when you're with friends, are you spending a lot of time on your device? Or are you spending more time enjoying the moments that are happening around you, even if it's just watching TV with another person? You can separate yourself from that connection. You can sever that connection by engrossing yourself into this fictitious imaginary world. Now, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the things that social media has to offer, because let's also face it, for all the ills that humans have created for themselves around being connected to a device and social media, there's a lot of really awesome things that it has created in the world for us too. I mean, the fact that you can be connected to somebody on the opposite end of the globe is absolutely mind-blowing when you really think about it. The fact that you can scroll through all these different social media things and see these things that will make you laugh or cry or feel, That's also pretty phenomenal. The fact that you can get a news source from 100 different outlets spattered all across the globe, again, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. But we have to remember that there is a world that's going on right in front of us, right in front of our own eyes. Don't lose sight of the connections that you have with the people who are around you. At the end of a long workday, when you're hanging out at home with hubby, with wifey, with the kids, with your friends, put the phone away. Enjoy that moment. Enjoy the connection you get with them. When you're out at dinner with people, put the phone away. Enjoy the connection that you get with them. When you're out doing anything with people, put the phone away. Enjoy the connection that you're going to get with them. And the first thing is to just recognize how much time you spend disconnecting from people and connecting to devices. Once you recognize that, then ask yourself, is it too much? Well, how do you feel about it? How do you honestly feel about it? So if you've never taken the time to kind of catalog the time that you spend, well, how can you know what your honest feelings are on it? Because again, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, here for a good time, not a long time, whatever your life motto is. However you want to spend your free time, your time. If you want to be absolutely glued to a cell phone screen, fine, whatever. Like, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do with your life to carve out your own bit of happiness. But I do challenge you to, from time to time, objectively question the things that you do and whether or not they do bring you joy. You may find that you spend a lot more time on your device than you thought you did. You may find that when you start to put it down more and you start to connect more with the world around you, you may find that some of the stresses and anxieties that you've had building start to diminish a little bit. You may find that the simplicity of the world that you start to create when you connect to what's immediately around you becomes a lot more soothing, calming, real, a lot more tangible, something you can actually hold on to, feel, and connect with. So that's really all I've got to say about all that. So again, the big takeaways from today. Challenge yourself to recognize how much time you spend on your device. Challenge yourself to connect more with the people around you in your environment. And I challenge you to just be objective in how and when you unplug from the world and how and when you unplug from your device to connect to the world. So I'll open it up now for those of you who are watching. If you've got any questions or things you want to discuss in regards to the topic at hand today, I'd absolutely love to dive a little bit deeper into this with you. So true. I'm told all the time to put the darn phone down, especially at dinner. Yep, I've seen that one before. I've heard that one before. That is very real and very true. So for you, my good sir, I definitely challenge you to try that. Try to disconnect from your phone and see what it does for you. See if you find a little bit more of yourself in those human connections. All right, guys, I just got to say thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I want to apologize that everything was a little bit chaotic and sporadic, and my thoughts were very disjointed. But at the same time, I guess that's part of my charm. Have an awesome Saturday, guys, and I will see you next week for another show. Hopefully, I'll get a little bit more sleep, and I won't be such a zombie.